Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Most kids don't have fathers, so the street becomes their father.
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast, a podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast with me, Kay, the Texas girl in a Georgia world, baby. Ladies, how y'all feel? Fellas, y'all all right? It is Monday, May 4th, 2026, and your girl is tired. Not tired, no. Mama is tired. Okay. I am on like day 8 of 14, but may the 4th be with you. Yes, it is pre-Cinco de Mayo, and it's Taco Tuesday too. Oh, I'm going to be, damn, I can't even go in, y'all. I can't even drink. Oh, this sucks. But yes, mama tired because I've been working 8 days straight. I got like 6 more to go. And listen, my paycheck is going to be grateful because I got some stuff that I'm catching up on. And I'm planning this Disney trip for myself and a little tiny human. So, I'm eagerly awaiting the beginning of June when I can actually take some real time off. Like, all I'm going to do is lounge and sleep and work on my books. Okay. So I hope that y'all have had an amazing week thus far. Thank you all for tuning into the Celebrities Who Were Gone Too Soon series. Y'all really showed out for that Merlin Santana episode. And I mean, the numbers were like really high on that one. Now, PNB Rock, he came in a close second. I noticed y'all wasn't feeling that Marvin Gaye episode as much because, like, it was low. Like, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's the generation that's listening. I don't know. But either way, I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the fact that it has been 100 episodes of The Infamous Ones, y'all. 100 episodes, baby. I cannot believe that I have done so much, and it's all because of you, the mobbers. So thank you. Now, what y'all sipping on tonight? Me? Y'all know I'm still on my water kick. No sodas or liquor until the end of May. You know what? I actually might try to do it until mid-June. I don't know yet, but we're gonna see. Like I'm really into this. I'm drinking some sparkling water tonight, my Pellegrino, of course. And I made some spaghetti to eat on. So, I'm good to go on this episode. Now, with that being said, let's get into it. Hop on in and buckle up because we about to take a ride to 2022 in Memphis, Tennessee. Tennessee, man. Memphis, Tennessee, man. I'm on my Terrence Howard. It sucks, but y'all get it. Now, obviously, 2022 wasn't that long ago. It's post-pandemic. Beyonce popped out with that Renaissance album and the whole Cuff It challenge went in. Wakanda Forever swept the box office, proving yet again that Ryan Coogler is a genius. Duh. Money Long had us wanting hours and hours. Ladies, y'all know what I'm talking about. The Blackening was like the biggest parody when it came to horror movies. And SZA, she heated up the charts with Kill Bill. And this week's case took killing literal. Okay? Y'all know what time it is. Let's get it. And this week's case involves Dwayne Tunstall, victim, Mariko Webb, witness, Marquez Murrell, witness. Marcavian Walker, witness. Marcus Cash, witness. Richard Clark, victim. Lakeisha McGlathan, surviving victim. Rodolfo Berger, surviving victim. Randall Graham, surviving victim. Allison Parker, victim. Ariana Parker, witness. And the infamous murderer of the week, Ezekiel Kelly. Ezekiel DeJuan Kelly was born October 14th, 2002 in Memphis, Tennessee. Nigga, 2002 though? Oh, that's making me feel old. So if you're from Memphis, you know the vibe. People call it forgotten. It's one of those spots where families are just trying to keep their heads above water, generation after generation, while the rest of the world looks the other way. Now, Ezekiel went by Zeke or Huncho. That's what the neighborhood called him. From jump, it was his mom's holding it down. She was a single parent, and by all accounts, she was really for her son. She wasn't just, letting him run wild. She was trying to steer him in the right direction. She even tried to move him out to East Memphis just to get him away from the hot zones of North Memphis and Fraser. She was trying to build a wall between Zeke and the chaos, but sometimes the house isn't enough to keep the streets out. See, Zeke had an older brother, and in a crib where the father figure is missing, the streets step in to, fill that void. And his big brother was deep in it, Spring Valley Gang. And that influence, yeah, it's a magnet. By middle school, Zeke was already learning how to navigate a world that was a far cry from the dreams that he used to talk about. See, Zeke attended Coleman Elementary. And he was just another kid in the hallway. He had friends, he had laughs, and of course, he had dreams. He even had a little girlfriend. He met Destiny Christian. They were young, of course, because, they're in elementary. So, of course, naturally, when you're that young, you breaking up like all the time, but then you get back together, break up again. And that cycle continued all the way into the 8th grade. But Zeke didn't want to be a hitter. He wanted to be a sports medicine doctor. Let that sink in. This kid wanted to heal people. He wanted to be in the league, not on the court, but on the sidelines, saving careers. He was working at fast food joints. He was in a poetry club. He had these creative, ambitious pieces of a soul, somewhat. But he just couldn't find the bridge to get from Raleigh to the medical board. By high school, things kind of took a turn. Zeke was starting to have some heavy duty anger issues and had zero clue how to process them. And sadly, in the Black community, especially one with little resources, there's no therapy, there's no outlet, it's just rage. And he dropped out of school in the 11th grade. And y'all know once you drop out, opportunities are limited. He became a product of what he tried so hard to avoid. And just like his older brother, he became a member of the Spring Valley Gang. And for him, joining the gang was what made sense. You join the gang to feel like you're a part of something. And then, sadly, you lose yourself. He became unloved, unhelped, and unseen. Zeke went into the system at 17 and came back to the bricks and just like drifted. The doctor he once wanted to be was dead. That poet, gone. In 2020, at age 17, Zeke had his first run in with the law. He opened fire on several people. Luckily, no one was killed, but he faced 4 felony charges, including 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of reckless endangerment, and 1 count of possession of a firearm, according to court records. So he pled guilty to the lesser charge of aggravated assault in the case in 2021, and he got 3 years in that case. But while Zeke was locked up, he lost his older brother to the streets, and, that hit him different. Like it kind of turned that I don't care attitude into full blown fuck everybody. After serving 11 months of his 3-year sentence, which we gonna get into that later, on March 16th, 2022, Zeke is released. And 6 months later, he reigned terror in the streets of Memphis, with his first victim being his own friend, Dwayne. Dwayne Amir Tunstall was born in 1998 to Marvadas Gilmore and Dwayne Tunstall Sr. He was often called by his middle name Amir by those closest to him. Wasn't just a face in a news story. He was loved by pretty much everybody. He was a young man with a 3-year-old little girl who he adored and another baby on the way. Many described him as a pillar of potential, a budding entrepreneur, and by every account from his friends, a truly kind soul. He wasn't the kind of guy who just walked past someone in need. On one random day, a woman named Olivia Jennings was at a gas station and Amir came in. And the two of them are in line, and she starts cracking jokes because she's looking at Amir's cart and she's like, "Boy, why you got all this orange juice? Why are you buying so much orange juice?" And they cracking up laughing or whatever. And Amir just tells her, "You know what? I'm gonna pay for your gas." Like, that was just how Amir was. He wasn't trying to be a hero, he was just being himself. And that really is like the essence of his life. He was a good kid, as his friends would, later say, trying to build something better for his family and his city. Amir had a vision. He was working hard to launch a food truck, which he named EBE, not to be confused with EBT, EBE, standing for Everybody Eats. And if you think about that name, it's really profound. Like, Amir's mantra was about survival of the collective. He said that if we all stand in a circle, it wouldn't matter who had the money. Everyone should be able to eat. The truck would be a community service on wheels, offering free meals to homeless people. Like, that philosophy wasn't just a slogan for his business, it was how he actually lived. He saw life as something meant to be shared. He was a father, a business partner, and a best friend. His relationship with his friend and business partner Marcus Cash was described as being close as brothers. They had actually met 6 years prior when Marcus's brother had went to jail, and they kind of had the hopes of starting a program to mentor the youth. Now, Amir worked in construction and home renovation, and they were building something together, him and Marcus, step by step, side by side, whatever you want to call it, dreaming of the day that they could pull up that food truck and start serving their neighbors. Now, they were already working on it, kind of like refining their plan and getting ready to launch. The heartbreak of Amir's story is that he was so close to that horizon until September 7th, 2022. So it all starts around 1 o'clock in the morning at Marcus Cash's house on Lindale, doing what people do. They talking dreams, talking business. And one of the homies is showing off his new food truck, which is Amir. And they're out in the backyard eating some chicken, just vibing. And Zeke had just left his mother's house and he wanted to come by and support his friend's business. So he came to Marcus's house where he knew Amir was going to be at. And he and some of his friends, Mariko Webb, Marquez Murrell, and Markavian Walker, as well as Amir, were just, hanging out. Zeke came through. He bought a plate with 3 ribs, 6 wings, spaghetti, baked beans, coleslaw, and a Hawaiian roll. Like, okay, baby, Amir was getting down with the food. Like, got me over here salivating. But Zeke buys some food, and then something just changed. Like, the vibe is suddenly off. Zeke is sitting there. All of a sudden, he starts talking crazy, talking about yeah, I'm gonna kill somebody, and watch this, I'm gonna kill somebody. And all of them are in the driveway, standing around the car. When Marcus goes inside to check on his 1-year-old, see his fiance's in the shower and he's changing his baby, and he lays her back in her crib. And outside, Zeke pulls one of the other niggas' guns and opens fire. And Amir is standing right next to him. So when this happens, the other three guys, they run to the car, and Marcus, he's inside. He looks up out the window. A bullet literally comes into his daughter's room just 1 yard from where he's standing. Another bullet goes through the bathroom where his fiance is taking a shower. And so Marcus looks out the window and he literally sees Zeke shooting his homeboy. He watches this boy's body drop. Like, that's a grief that is just almost too hard to calculate. So Zeke now has shot Amir, and he tries to like run over to the car where everybody else is in and get in with the other dudes. And they screaming, they're like, hell no, nigga, get your ass up out of here. Like, get your ass up out of here. Here's my question. None of y'all thought to pull your guns? So get this. Zeke doesn't even run. He follows them to another house in his Infinity because they kirked off. And they like, yo, man, what you do to Amir, man? Why you do that? And he just looks at him cold as hell and says, he gone. It is what it is. Hey, but y'all, I need some directions real quick. Child, they looked at this man like the lunatic he was and was like, if you don't get your ass the fuck up out of here. And I guess he decided that he was going to lay low for a minute, but Zeke was far from done. So fast forward to 4:30 p.m. The city is just, going about its day. And 62-year-old Richard Clark is at a gas station on South Parkway East, trying to get in his little Camry, whatever. Now, Richard was 62 years old. He was the baby of 7 kids. Ooh, Jesus, my uterus. And you know that dynamic. When you're the youngest of a big crew, you're either the loudest or the one taking it all in. Now, Richard, of course, was the latter. His sister, Sheila Finley, she called him a humble, quiet man. In a world that's always screaming for attention, Richard was comfortable in the silence. This man spent his whole life being the shield. He put in years as a correctional officer. And listen, that's a thankless, heavy duty job, okay? Y'all know I know firsthand some of these jobs. You got to have a different kind of discipline for that. When most people would have just, retired to a porch swing, Richard kept it moving. He wanted to keep grinding, and he became a campus security officer over at Christian Brothers University. And, he wasn't there to power trip. He was there because he genuinely cared about those kids. He was a homebody in the truest sense. His nephew, Miller, said that, Richard didn't do the clubs at 62. I hope not. He didn't do that scene. His fortune wasn't a bank account. It was his family. He was Uncle Richard, the bedrock, the guy you called when you needed someone to show up. So like I said, it's Wednesday, just after 4 p.m., normal afternoon on South Parkway East. Richard pulls up to the BP in the 900 block, just like any other day. He goes inside, he grabs a couple of beers, walks back to his Toyota Camry, and he does something that people who knew him said was kind of like out of his character. Now, usually Richard's in and out, but this time he sits in his car for a few minutes. Like maybe he was just, catching his breath. Maybe he was thinking about dinner or just, enjoying the quiet before his shift. Who knows? But while he's sitting there, the unthinkable happens. Videos show Zeke pulling up right along beside him. Now, this wasn't a fight. It wasn't beef. It was just cold. It was calculated. Shots fired through the driver's side window. Richard didn't even have a chance to defend himself. A man who had spent his entire life protecting others was taken by somebody with zero regard for human life. A minute later, Lakeisha McGlashan is sitting in her car while her dad Willie is outside fixing a tire on the Norris Road exit ramp of I-240. So Zeke pulls up, asks for directions to Whitehaven, and as soon as she answers, he shoots her in the leg and peels off. Now, this is where it gets really demonic. Zeke goes live on Facebook. He's behind the wheel of his Infinity, rambling, running his mouth, and literally bragging about killing Amir because he was fake. He's talking about being a hitman for the cribs and all of that. And at one point, dude is literally foaming at the mouth, rapping and saying he's high out of his mind. Like, you think? I'm just like, yuck. As my kid would say, yuck. He's out there telling people, watching, how he planned to kill as many as people as he could until the cops took him out. He wanted to go suicide by cop. And so like he just kept going. At 5:50, he pulls up to an AutoZone on Jackson Avenue. He hops out the car while the camera is still rolling on his phone, walks inside, and shoots a man in the chest. That man was Rodolfo Berger, an innocent shopper who didn't know Zeke from a hole in the wall, didn't know who Zeke was. And so Zeke runs back out screaming, "Bitch, I'm killing shit for real." That's when it's like that's what it is. And that's when the stream cuts for the first time. And so that's when the city goes into full blown panic. Rodolfo was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Jenny Berger, which is Rodolfo's daughter, she identified him as her father in a long post on Facebook. And she says, "Today, my dad was a victim of a senseless act of violence. Memphis shooting rampage. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time." Jenny was like in agony for hours, rightfully so, not knowing what had happened to the man that she considers her best friend. And she's like, "I love this man so much. If you know me, you know he's my world." And I mean, come on, when it comes to a daddy-daughter relationship, like there's nothing like it. Now, luckily, he survived the shooting, but sustained critical injuries that required multiple surgeries and a lengthy recovery process. But, he had his wife, Fabiola, and his daughter, Jenny, to assist him, of course. So at this point, several people have alerted the authorities, including Zeke's own mother and sister, that have called the cops. Memphis goes into a shelter in place. Public transit stops, college campuses, University of Memphis, they go into total lockdown. There was a minor league baseball game that was halted mid play as security ushered fans to safety. Like it was a surreal ghost town atmosphere. The city felt like it was under siege with an active shooter moving unpredictably through the streets. Streets are empty, doors are locked, and everybody is glued to their phones wondering when this lunatic is going to get caught. But Zeke's nowhere near done. Around 7:20 p.m., things get even more desperate. He crashes his Infinity on Poplar Avenue, tries to carjack a couple of people, one of whom was Randall Graham, who was driving a Honda Pilot. He shoots him in the arm, trying to steal his car, but then he sees a gray Toyota SUV. And inside is 38-year-old Allison Parker and her daughter, Ariana. Allison Nicole Parker came into this world on November 21st, 1983. She was born to Barbara Parker in Collinsville, Virginia. Now, to those that, knew her, they described her as a light. She was a mother of three, including her daughter, Ariana. And she was out there grinding every day as a medical assistant at the Family Practice Center of West Memphis. That and see that job is it's about service. It's about taking care of the community when they're at their lowest. That was just, her spirit according to her friends. Like give her her flowers. But life hadn't, been easy on Allison. Her mother-in-law, Debbie Holland, shared something that just, oh, it broke my heart. Allison's kids had already walked through the fire. They lost their father, Debbie's son, just a couple of years back. And Allison was the one standing tall, being the rock for those three babies after they already lost one parent. She was the one making sure that the world still felt safe for them. Her mother-in-law said that, Allison was beautiful, intelligent, and just straight up kind-hearted. The kind of person that, give you the shirt off her back if you ask. She wasn't out here looking for trouble. She was out here looking for ways to help. And y'all, this breaks my heart so bad. This part right here. When Zeke and Allison cross paths, Ariana sees him coming and jumps out of the car. She tried to run over to try and get her mom to get out, but Zeke was too fast. He slides in the passenger side, shoots Allison in the head right there in front of her child. Allison is pushed out of the car and her body just falls to the ground while Kiki turns or excuse me, while Zeke takes off in their car. Everything starts to, calm down just before like 9 o'clock in the evening. Zeke has now killed Amir, Richard, and Allison. And he's also severely injured Lakeisha, Rodolfo, and Randall, sending them to the hospital. So he gets across the state line in Mississippi at a gas station. And he pulls up to a guy in a Dodge Challenger and he like, hey yo, bro, you got some perks on you? What a random fucking question to ask. Like, what? But the guy ended up recognizing him from the news alert and he takes off running. So, you know, I guess Zeke is fine with that because he got what he wanted, which was old boy's car. So he jumps in and he heads back toward Tennessee. And this is where I start to think,
No, you done fucked up, right?
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the Runway Approved Vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or Really Admired Vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the Recreational Activity Vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
No. You know you done fucked up, right?
because why would you go back to the scene of the crime? Why go back to where you killed and shot all these people? Like, that's just stupid. Like, oh, this nigga make a wall look smart. But for whatever reason, he goes back to Tennessee. And, it don't take the cops long to spot him. Like, them freaking cameras everywhere, that's going to get your ass. That's going to be your downfall. Especially when the city is on lockdown and everybody's home afraid to go out. Like, you going to stick out like a sore thumb. So the cops finally spot him on I-55. And Marvis, y'all, I promise, it's this high-speed chase looks like something out of a video game. And it finally ends at the corner of Ivan and Hodge Road when Zeke crashes the Challenger. Baby, I would be so mad if you not only stole my car, but wrecked it too. Jesus Earl Christ. So the cops swarm in, and just like that, at 9:15 p.m., after hours of horror, it's over. They found 2 guns in the car and a trail of bodies behind him. And a city is left wondering how a hangout over a food truck turned into a day of pure terror. Dwayne's funeral was held September 15th, 2022 in Memphis at the N.J. Ford & Sons Funeral Home. His mother sang at his funeral, which, I know that had to take some strength, baby, to sing at your baby funeral. But she managed to do it, though. Richard's funeral was held on September 27th, 2022 at St. Andrew AME Church. I couldn't find any information on Allison's funeral. Meanwhile, this asshole Ezekiel is in hot water. Clearly, he didn't get his, suicide by cop wish, but he didn't get charged with every possible crime you could think of. And initially, he's charged with first-degree murder for the death of Dwayne Tunstall, who was shot earlier that morning. But as the investigation into the day-long rampage continued, the list of charges expanded significantly. By the time of his incident, he faced nearly 30 charges, including 3 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Dwayne Tunstall, Richard Clark, and Allison Parker, attempted first-degree murder for wounding 3 others, commission of an act of terrorism, carjacking, and theft of property, and reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. On September 9th, 2022, Zeke makes his first court appearance and is denied bond. He's held in the county jail until he makes his first court appearance on October 4th. And he pleads not guilty to all of the charges, which is mind blowing to me. And a few weeks later, on October 18th, at the preliminary hearing, 4 key witnesses testified about the events that sparked the rampage. Marcus Cash testified to seeing Zeke shoot Dwayne Tunstall at close range, although he admitted, he initially lied to police about being inside the house to protect his family while Zeke was still at large. Mariko Webb also testified that the group was, just chilling and hanging out at the crib before the shooting, and that Zeke just came out of nowhere talking about watch this before he talked about taking somebody's gun. Then Marquez Muriel testifies that after the shooting, Zeke tried to get into the car with them, but they was like, nah, go ahead with that bullshit, told him to get on. And the defense attorney is questioning Mariko about, what he knew of Zeke. And Mariko was honest. He was like, look, Zeke used drugs. That nigga didn't sleep a lot. He was always on some dumb stuff. And then, of course, Markavian Walker, he testified as well, but it was pretty much, like the same thing that the other guys had been saying. So Zeke's defense team eventually requested several delays because they had to review a mountain of evidence. And I'm talking about like a huge, big mountain, mega mountain. They had over 400 witnesses and like 300 videos that they had to go through. Good Lord. Because remember, he went Facebook Live with this shit. The prosecution was led by Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy and Chris LaRue. So they announced, they were like, oh, we are most definitely seeking the death penalty. And Zeke is actually given a defense attorney, but it was crazy because a lot of the public defenders did not want to take his case, absolutely none. But he ended up with 2. He had Michael Scholl and Jennifer Case. And, the prosecution made it clear from jump. They were just like, listen, this man, he reigned terror in this entire town all day. He killed innocent people. He hurt innocent people. There was no rhyme or reason for what he did. And for that, Ezekiel Kelly needs to die. We want the death penalty. And I mean, if any case was worthy of the death penalty, it would be this one. Now, there was originally a different trial date that was supposed to take place July 14th, 2025, but it had to be postponed so that the defense could have more time for the evidence. And I mean, it was understandable because there were over 300 videos. This is social media. When something's out there, it's being shared multiple times. And several people saw what Zeke had done live on Facebook. So the judge that was presiding over the case, Shelby County Criminal Court Judge James Jones Jr. Wow, that's a lot. James Jones Jr. So he set the new date for February 9th, 2026. But as we could see, that date did not happen. The prosecution, they went to his attorneys and they said, look, we're not trying to kill your client, but we sick of playing games with this man. This man cannot really think that he's innocent after millions of people saw him go live on social media and kill these people for fun. Not for self-defense, not for revenge, but solely because he could and because he wanted to. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to tell your client to make it easy on himself and plead guilty. Because if he takes it to court, we're going to go for the death penalty. We're going to go for that $42 cocktail. So you might want to go have a conversation with your client. So Zeke's attorneys, they bring it to him and they're like, listen, prosecution ain't playing no games. They talking about they going to take you up out of here. Listen, you ain't going to the upper room. No, nigga, your ass is going downstairs to the basement. So if I were you, I would go ahead and just take the plea. And he was like, all right, fine. I'll take the plea. Like he's doing them a favor. Man, the way I'm going to bake his ass, I promise y'all. We'll just wait for fair or foul. So August 13th, 2025, the Shelby County District Attorney's Office announces that Ezekiel Dewan Kelly has entered a guilty plea in connection with the September 7th, 2002 mass shooting that left 3 people dead and 3 others wounded. Several family members were present for the proceedings, including Michael Ford, who was the fiance of Allison Parker, Sheila Finley, and Charmaine Miller. They were the sister and niece of Richard Clark. Randy Graham, he was one of the ones that had been, shot in the hijacking for his car. He was the one that had the Toyota. Mike Summers was the brother of Allison Parker. He said that he wanted to see Ezekiel basically burn in hell. Now, Ezekiel gets the opportunity to speak. And he said that he was in the darkest place of his life during the shootings and expressed that God gave me a second chance by allowing me the death penalty to be avoided. You sure that was God that now listen, I know I'm a religious person. I believe God gives everybody second chances. Don't get me twisted. But nigga, I'm pretty sure your second chance came before that. I'm almost positive that your second chance was when you only did 11 months out of a 3-year sentence, which was bogus as hell, for attempted murder. You had attempted murder charges and got 3 years and you only did 11 months. I'm almost certain that was your second chance, but we're going to get into that later. So Zeke was officially convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder, 6 counts of reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon, 1 count of possession of a firearm with prior forcible, violent, or deadly weapon conviction, 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder, 6 counts of employing a firearm during a dangerous felony, 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of attempted carjacking, 1 count of carjacking, 2 counts of theft of property, 1 count of evading arrest with a risk of death, 1 count of theft of property, 1 count of prohibited weapons, and 1 count of terrorism. Oh, that was a lot of charges. Throat is dry. So the judge listens to the testimony of the victims and witnesses. And like I said, he had given Zeke the opportunity to speak, but he wasn't moved by his bullshit at all. And he sentenced Ezekiel Kelly to 3 life sentences without parole, plus 221 years in prison. Now, after the sentencing, the prosecutor, District Attorney Mulroy, made a statement. Death penalty cases can drag on for decades, keeping families stuck in the pain. This plea brings justice by making sure he'll never be free, while also respecting what many victims have said. They're ready to move forward. This plea brings certainty and finality to the families who approve of this settlement and are ready to be done with litigation and move on. It avoids years, if not decades, of appeals. Most important, it makes certain that this defendant who terrorized our entire city will never see the light of day. I know that's right. Ezekiel Kelly is now inmate 00628-539 at the Turney Center Industrial Complex in Nashville, Tennessee, where he will be for his natural-born days and beyond the grave. Now, I was researching the case and I found a bunch of articles and stuff that talks about how people felt about the environment that Zeke came from. And there was this one interview with Zeke's ex-girlfriend, Destiny Christian, and this guy named Tory Bates. He was the executive director of For the Kingdom Conference Center and Retreat. And I mean, and it was a really good, really great segment when I was reading it. Like, Tory doesn't really sugarcoat anything. He called it a culture of death. And in the interview, he described a shootout that happened right across from Coleman Elementary, like the week prior. And the wildest part is nobody even called the cops. That's the level of desensitization that we're talking about. He's like, he was like, I see young boys, 13, 14 years old, running out the house with AKs almost as big as they are, jumping into cars. And it made me think about that episode that I did about the little boy that was like 11 or 12 and was gunned down. I don't know if y'all remember that episode. I want to say his nickname was like Cookie or something like that. It was something dealing with candy or sweets, but I've done so many cases, shit, I can't remember. But he was a young boy that, knew what a gun was before he should know, what a gun is. He was a child basically coming up in an environment where, he's learning how to shoot before he's learning how to read. Like, he's out here basically freaking, Yummy. That was his name, Yummy. I don't know why I said Cookie. I'm sorry. But Yummy Sandifer, he was a boy. He was a child. He wasn't grown. He grew up in an environment where he was taught kill or be killed. Like, this isn't a movie scene. That's just a regular day for these kids. And Tori was talking about, how he knew the stakes personally because back in December of 2019, he took a bullet to the face. And he still walks around with lead in his neck today after 16 rounds hit his vehicle. But when you ask him why he stays, because of course they're like, well, if this happened to you, why are you still in this environment? And he's just like, because it's all love. He loves Riley. He loves these kids. Whoo, baby, you better than me. Cause in that moment, man, I'm team fuck them kids. I'm sorry. I know that's wrong. Whew, I'm just saying. But, one thing that I was reading that stood out was the how it got to that point. And Tori breaks down the history of how it got like that. He's like, listen, decades ago, this was a different demographic. There's homeowners, there's stability. But when that crowd left, it became a community of just renters, transient, impoverished. He calls it the 4 generations of the forgotten. And that brings us to the actions of Ezekiel Kelly. Tori saw it too. He told the reporter that he opened the link the day that Ezekiel went live. He opened that link not knowing what it was, and watching that violence happen in real time, it broke him. It broke him all the way down. Now, they also interviewed the advocate Destiny Christian, who, if you remember, is Zeke's ex-girlfriend. And she describes him as, a man who lived a double life. A part of him was like the provider, while he was locked up, he was writing home every day. If his mama needed something or if she needed something, he made sure it happened. He was actually seen as a really nice guy to his circle. But then there was another half of him that was like the product of his environment. And then once them drugs and that liquor hit his system, he became a completely different person. This is according to Destiny. She talks about how, his mom tried to get him out the hood. She tried to move him to East Memphis just to give him a fighting chance. But the gravity of the streets just pulled too hard. But here's where the cycle has to break. See, Zeke has a younger brother. He's only in the 8th grade and he's currently part of the programs at, for the kingdom. And Tori talks about how, now his brother is starting to speak. Like he's dealing with all of these emotions. He's a grieving, 13, 14-year-old little boy trying to process the fact that his brother is the headline that everybody is terrified of. He's trying to process the fact that he's already got one brother dead. Now his other brother is going to be gone for the rest of his life in prison. He's sad. He's hurting. And he's standing at the same crossroads that both of his brothers stood at years ago. But the question is, are we going to let him be the 5th generation of the forgotten? Like, clearly Zeke had nothing to lose. And based off of his mugshots, he was proud of what he did. So hopefully that cycle doesn't continue with his little brother. And that is the story of Ezekiel Kelly. And now it is time for Fair or Foul, where we look at the justice system to determine if the sentencing that was given was indeed fair or if it was just some bullshit that's going to have us sitting back saying, what the fuck? For the first time, I can honestly say that I'm happy that he did not get that death penalty. Like in a situation like this, yes, it is very much warranted. Don't get it twisted. But I'm actually glad that he got 3 consecutive life sentences plus an additional 221 years. That means that your soul would have to literally die and then you would still be incarcerated. You could be reincarnated and you would still be incarcerated. You could die in that cell and be jerked back to life and be jolted back to life and still be incarcerated. Like in this case, I want him to suffer. I want him to suffer the way the entire city fucking suffered. You went and just decided at random that you were going to go and kill somebody. Amir did nothing to you. That was your homie, supposedly. But you decided that you were just gonna grab a gun at random and shoot and kill him. First of all, what kind of fucking gangbanger don't have no fucking gun, you whack ass nigga? Everybody in there had guns. And you know what? What's really surprising to me is that all of these niggas that was at that house with you, none of them thought to grab them guns that were on them and shoot your ass like they should have. Like how? I am just astounded by that. Y'all got all these gangbangers and stuff standing in this driveway of this man's house. How you don't pull your shit and send his ass to hell with his people when you clearly see what this nigga is doing? Like, it wasn't like, he was just sitting there. He did this shit right in front of you. How the fuck do you just sit in your car and just be like, oh my God, okay, you need to get away? No, shoot his ass. That's what he want. He shot, like, he could have easily shot y'all, but y'all just sat there like, oh, hoo. Kill his ass. It's that simple. And I'm really not trying to like advocate for, killing somebody, but I'm kind of thrown because I'm like, okay, Marcus had a gun on him. Mariko had a gun on him. Mark Marquez had a gun on him. All of them had guns. So I'm just tripping at the fact that none of them thought to say when they were in the car and he came running them, hey yo, this nigga just shot this fool in front of us. I'm surprised that none of them thought to say, yo, he just murked this nigga for no reason. And you like he even ran to the car to jump in with you. And all you said was, get away. You got guns. That'll get him away. Like that would have been the first thing that I did to get your ass away from my car permanently. Pulling my gun and popping your ass. It should have happened in that instant when you shot your homeboy in front of them, but for whatever reason it didn't. You going around shooting people's families, these people's parents, their sons, their daughters. These people didn't know you. And you talking about your excuse was, oh, I was in a really dark place. Nigga, you could have been to the pits of hell. What you did was still unwarranted. You could have been to the abyss of the sunken place, and what you did was still unwarranted. There is no excuse for what you did. You stole somebody's life for no reason. You've given stress to some of these people for no reason. Now, Amir's daughters have to grow up knowing that their father is gone because you just felt like killing somebody. Talking about something, he gone, it is what it is. Now, Richard's family has to keep pushing knowing that their brother or their uncle is gone. Now, Allison's kids have to grow up not only without their father, who they had already lost, but now their mother too. For what? What was your possible reason for wanting to do this other than you just felt like killing somebody? What other reason did you have?
What's the reason?
You didn't have any reason. But then again, about 90% of murderers never really have a valid reason for what they do. You just drove around aimlessly and decided to start picking off people until you got what you wanted or until you were tired or off your high or whatever the case may be. Because I saw the videos and stuff where you foaming at the fucking mouth, you nasty motherfucker, you rabbit dog looking ass bastard. Whatever the reason that you did, it was stupid. So you spending the rest of your stupid ass life in prison is absolutely valid. You sitting in that courtroom talking about you apologize because you were in a dark place. But yet, when you got locked up, because y'all know they make you take them pictures when you get locked up, nigga, you was cheesing like you was at a Glamour Shots in your picture. That don't look like you was regretful or remorseful to me. It looks like you rather enjoyed that shit because every mug shot you cheesing, showing them little ugly ass teeth of yours. Like, let's keep it a band. You showed no remorse. You showed no guilt. So what's the apology for? Just to say it? Because it's insincere. It's not heartfelt. It's just words that you were saying to keep from getting that $42 cocktail. I don't buy it, and I hope nothing but the worst for your ass. No, you know what? No, fuck that. I ain't done. Let's talk about, yeah, you got the sentence that you were supposed to get, but let's talk about the first sentence that you got. That was bullshit right there. I feel like that was straight bullshit. You had attempted murder charges. You was out there shooting at people before. How the fuck they let your ass get out of jail after 11 months? How the fuck your ass only get 3 years sentencing? And then you don't even do the whole 3 years. You get less than a year on the inside, you raggedy bitch. I don't understand the system on that one. That's bullshit to me. I could see if it was like, assault or something like that. They pleaded you down from attempted murder to aggravated assault. That's bullshit. Attempted murder is attempted murder, point blank, period. And at the very least, if you're going to plead his ass down to aggravated assault, make sure he does the whole fucking 3 years. But no, y'all going to sit there and say, oh, well, yeah, we're going to let him do 11 months. And then literally he gets out March 16th, 2022, September 7th, 2022. Literally 6 months later, he does this bullshit. So I also blame the system for it as well, because had y'all kept his raggedy ass in there, he probably wouldn't have done that. Or those people could still be alive today. Had you kept that rat bastard in there, then Allison would be alive. Richard would be alive. Amir would be alive. He would be there for his daughter. He would be there for her birth. Randall wouldn't be dealing with PTSD. Rodolfo wouldn't be dealing with PTSD. Fucking Lakeisha wouldn't have got a fucking bullet in her leg. Nobody would be terrorized. But your fucking punk ass gets 11 months and then just walks the fuck out like everything is chill. I have a serious problem with that because I feel like the system fucking failed everybody. And I'm praying, I am hoping that all of these families get together and they sue the entire fuck out of the system for that. Because that's bullshit. Like that bothers me in the worst way, because this man literally tried to kill people before, and y'all basically let him back out. So what does that say about y'all? That is all for this week's episode of the Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the various streams on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast. That's a number 1, by the way, not spelled out, and you can leave a review there. On X, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can join the private discussion group, the Infamous Ones discussion group, but please be advised, if you don't answer the questions, you ain't getting in. Y'all know how this works by now. But once you get in, let's chop it up, because you know we talk about the real in there and everybody has fun. So come on in, take a seat, tell us where you're from and what you're sipping on. The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and so on. So please make sure that you leave a review. Like I said, I'm trying to, still get my Apple reviews up, so let's keep it going. Oh, now let's get to a few of these reviews, okay? Tonight is a little different. The first review comes from Apple Podcasts, and it is a 1-star review that says, irritating, from B. Banji. So it says, I have your podcast 3 chances. You're not funny at all. You always try talking about people and it doesn't be funny. Why do you have to sound country when you be quoting what the judge says? Be yourself. I see why the other Black podcasts don't mention your podcast as often as they do the others. Why do you have to curse so much? Geez. Well, B. Banji, first and foremost, thank you for listening, because 3 episodes is still streams for me, so appreciate you, boo. Okay. But what I will say is that in the almost 3 years, you are my second 1-star review. So I think I'm doing damn good. What I find irritating, since your caption is irritating, what I find irritating is how this review is written. Shouldn't it be, I gave your podcast 3 chances? You said, I have your podcast 3 chances. I'm pretty sure you mean I gave your podcast 3 chances. Then you said, it doesn't be funny. Neither is your grammar, sir or ma'am. And listen, I am myself. That's why I've been doing this for almost 3 years. And yes, I curse, but ask me if I give a damn. I may not have thousands of reviews, but out of the 180 that are on Apple Podcasts alone, I only got 2 1-star reviews. That's pretty fucking dope. So I'm going to continue with my country twang and cussing. Thanks. And yes, I do the country voice when I'm doing the judges or the attorneys, because depending on what town it is, 9 times out of 10, that's how they speak. Because I have fucking knowledge of certain towns and cities where they speak country. And guess what? The listeners like it. So yeah, I think I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. But thank you for listening, boo, because I'm pretty sure you're probably listening now. Anyway. The next review comes from Instagram from Michael Baskerville 717. Now I'm going to tell y'all, it's a little long, but it's meaningful. So he slid in the DMs, and like when I read it, I was like, wow, like I was really blushing, y'all. Now again, the disclaimer is a little lengthy, but it says, Hello, good afternoon. Excuse me for the long message, but I wanted to make sure I gave you your flowers the best way possible. So I'm hoping this finds you well. I'm sure you get countless DMs, but there wasn't an email listed. But this message is important, so I'm hoping it's received. I just wanted to let you know that I came across your podcast last night. I specifically wanted to call out your discussion about Merlin Santana's case. Wow, that one really stuck with me, and the way you delved into it was just thoughtful and moving. It truly made an impact, and honestly, it's one of those conversations that still resonates with me even now. I've been noticing lately how his story is finally starting to get the spotlight it deserves. More actors from Marlon's era are being interviewed about him. It's nice more people talked about the tragic early end to his life, but also good memories as well. It's wild to think about how incredibly complicated and messy his whole situation was, all centered around that awful false accusation. And honestly, the difference in how a story like that was handled back in 2002 versus how it would be today, night and day. I was only 11 when he passed, and once I got older, I sensed how little media attention it received. It really hammers home that painful truth about the disparity in coverage for Black actors, particularly those from urban communities, compared to their white counterparts. It's tough to admit, but these stories often just weren't given the same weight or empathy. I even recall reading how some outlets regrettably chalked it up to South Central violence, which effectively downplayed the tragedy and led to significantly less in depth or long term reporting than what crimes in more affluent areas would typically receive, often becoming national headlines. Plus, the initial lack of a clear motive made it tough for journalists to stick with the story until the false accusations finally came to light during the trial years later. As a huge film enthusiast and a writer myself, I'm constantly captivated by actors and their personal journeys. My movie and documentary collection is proof of that. I actually knew Merlin not from the Steve Harvey show, but from his role as Mayhem in the VH1 movie called Played. It was a cool hip hop story loosely based on Tupac and Biggie. So I saw him in a more mature personification rather than a silly heartthrob like on Steve Harvey. And it's crazy, I didn't even realize he'd been murdered until maybe 2006 or 2007. You know how sometimes an actor just seems to vanish and you get curious? I randomly surfed the web and landed on his Wikipedia bio. Super unfortunate turn of events. It's a haunting observation how often the line between an actor's fictional character and their real life fate becomes tragically blurred. The case of an actor whose character died by gun violence only for the actor himself to be killed in real life a mere 5 months later powerfully raises the age old question: is art imitating life or life imitating art? I watched Flossin on Tubi. Hearing Merlin's mom saying his words, "I'm going to be your guardian angel," recounted on the Final Cut episode was incredibly moving, which was the Celebrity Crime Files. My personal take was less about a premonition. She thought he had a feeling he was going to have a premature death, and more about his profound commitment to ensuring his family was taken care of financially, a real testament to his love and dedication. It truly paints a picture of the kind of person he was. Even with that perspective, it still gives you chills and feels so poignant, doesn't it? And sadly, it just goes to show that sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for these awful things that happen, just senseless acts of cruelty that are truly hard to wrap your head around. Whew. Okay. Tell me you was a Merlin fan without telling me you was a Merlin fan. That in itself was an episode, y'all. Um, but no, in all seriousness, thank you so much for the review. I really appreciate that. Now, see, this is the type of review like I like, and he really gave it, honey. Thank you. Like, this really meant so much because it shows that he is a true fan. Oh, and by the way, there is an email. I say it every episode, and it's in the info in the Facebook group. Just thought I would point that out. All right, mobbers, remember to support the Black Box. Y'all know that I just drop episodes whenever there's, no real time frame, no real reason. I just do it whenever I feel like it. You never know when it's coming. So stay supporting the Black Box. The Infamous Ones Murder Mystery Virtual Contest has officially begun. Each week, I will post a clue in the Facebook group via video. You will see the clue in the group only and get an opportunity to win the prize. Now, the first clue is being posted within the next couple of days. And on May 24th, there will be a live show via the Facebook group where the winner will be announced. There's going to be a winner for May, June, July, August, and September. So that's 5 winners. And then on October 10th, there will be a live show in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, that show, each of the winners from the prior contest will be entered for a chance to win a $250 cash prize. And for those extra that are in attendance, there will be a second raffle for everybody for a $100 cash prize. So that will be at the live show in Atlanta, Georgia, October 10th, 2026. The details on the location will be coming soon because tickets are going to be available on Eventbrite starting July 1st. But yes, y'all, the virtual murder mystery night is officially here. So stay tuned for the clues. Ad space is still available. If you would like to have your business mentioned on any episode, we are still running an ad special for $30. You can inbox me or reach out to me via Facebook group. If you want to support the show or if you're feeling the spirit, meaning that liquor that, y'all been sipping on and that water that I've been sipping on, click the link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to this episode on and hit listener support to give. You can also donate via the Cash App at $infamous1pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD. Donations go toward court documentation, interviews, JPay, all of that. Now, if you have a case that you want to hear more on that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, if you want to inquire about ad space, or if you want to leave a review, send me an email. That's for Michael Baskerville. Send an email to infamous1pod@gmail.com. That's INFAMOUSONEPOD@gmail.com. Once again, people, please share, share, share. This podcast is growing by the day, and it means the world, so keep sharing. I'm trying to get these reviews up, especially on Apple Podcasts. I'm still under 200 reviews, so y'all keep it going, please, and thank you. Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl, Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week with a new episode. Stay mobbing, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay. Be sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.